Be happy.
Hey, everybody. Good evening. Hope everybody's doing great. Love that song. Don't worry. I was rechange that. Don't worry. Retire happy. How about that? So, hope everybody's having a great week. Tonight, we're going to dive into some non-financial side of things for retirement. I posted something over last week about this. Some of the how you feel about the prospect of retirement. So we're going to go over those real quick. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some of the stages of retirement because there's a lot of things to retirement planning that it's just not all about finances. Now, we specialize a lot in doing things around finances, and there's a lot of aspects of that. We're going to dive into that, obviously, a lot more into the group. But to do a full retirement plan, it's more than just finances. There's the non-financial side of things as well, and really those play into how you're going to fund your finances. Retirement's a major life change, and it's a major life event. And so you got to think about all aspects. And part of the proper planning is you think about the non-financial aspects and how you're going to transition into that, how it's going to affect your life, and then what are some of your purposes and goals and things like that in retirement. And then we get into the actual financial things and how we're going to fund that, right? Later on, I'm going to tease this a little bit, but later on, we'll talk a little bit about how do you achieve that retire happy status, that retire happy factor. But anyway, let's dive in a little bit. Let's pick up on what we were talking about, what I posted about a little bit last week. If you guys are watching live, hit up a hashtag live. If you're watching replay, hit me up with a hashtag replay. Does us a lot of good, helps us out with some of the Facebook algorithms and things like that. But I like to know who's watching, and love to interact with you guys. So last week I posted a thing about how do you feel about the prospect of retirement. So just the thought of retirement, what does that put in your head? A lot of people have an array of different feelings when it comes to that. So run down these real quick. One of them is fear. What do I do? How do I afford to live? The fear of it. Well, man, I'm worried about it, and that fear really grasps a lot of people, and it really prevents them from doing planning, but it prevents them from looking at it the right way. And some of those people really delay, the retirement side of things. Relief. Well, I can finally relax. Finally relax. There's some relief. I'm finally done working. Resentment. People that love working, they don't want to retire. Some people that are forced into retirement. I'm at the top of my game. I don't want to retire. Well, there's a hybrid retirement. And that's you can do that as well, where you're part-time retired and part-time working, whether that's staying in your current job and doing consulting and those kind of things, or you're doing things that you love and enjoy. Or you go do something that you've always wanted to do that you weren't able to do while you were working. So you can overcome that resentment. Joy. Can't wait to live life on my own terms. You have your days. Every day is a Saturday. And they're just really looking forward to it. So joy comes to mind when they think about retirement. Confusion. I don't know where to start. I don't know what's going on with finances and pensions and what am I going to do in retirement. Just a state of confusion. It kind of plays into the fear side a little bit and the worry side of a bit. But that's another common um, emotion that comes out. Excitement. There's so much that I want to do. I'm so looking forward to it. Nervousness ties into some of those earlier ones. What if retirement doesn't live up to my expectations? Well, we can change that, and you plan on that. You can plan on what you want to do in retirement, what your purpose is going to be in retirement, and get coaching around that. Some of the nervousness too, obviously, comes around the finance side. Am I going to have enough money? Disbelief. Is it really happening? Is it really possible? Am I really reaching the retirement? I worked all these years. Am I really going to be able to retire? I'll just believe it when I see it, right? And then sadness, the end of an era. I'm not needed anymore. So that's kind of an interesting one as well, where you worked your whole life, you're supporting a family, you're supporting your spouse, you're doing well with your job, and you feel a sense of purpose. Well, that purpose can be transferred into something in retirement. So all those are just some of the common emotions when you ask some people about retirement. When I ask someone about retirement, usually it falls under one of those categories. But with the proper planning and thinking about things and coaching you through it, that can all be overcome. And that really makes up really a proper retirement planning process. And you know what too, if you go back and look at some of my videos that we've done in the past on YouTube, you'll see some of this, but we'll cover this again here up shortly. Is what does God want us to do throughout all these different emotions, and how we planning for retirement and whatnot. Here in the next week or two, I'm going to bring back and share with you a little bit on the treasure target. You can go back to my YouTube channel, look at some of the videos there, check that out. If you go up in the Facebook group here in the guide section, the target is posted in there as well. You can kind of see it, but we'll cover it again and go through it on a Facebook Live here before too long, because it really centers in all the different aspects of financial 101 stuff. It really fits in really well to retirement planning and the purpose side of things. It just all really melds really well together, and that's what makes a fantastic plan, is when you can put all those aspects together: the spiritual, godly side, the financial side, the purpose side. All that can come together in a solid plan. But most people, unfortunately, don't account for all that, right? They just count for one aspect of it, and mostly, it's the money side. Now, I love doing the money side, but one of my, passion for me is making sure people are prepared overall, just not finances, but for retirement in general. So that's very kind of wide net, if you will. So let's jump off into those. So that's kind of, some of the thoughts and emotions that people have when you ask them about retirement. That's one thing I always do all the time when I work with someone, on retirement side. We sit down and we figure out how they're feeling about it, and get to know them so you can build a proper plan around it. But there's just a lot to it. It's a big life change, and handle it appropriately. So the stages of retirement emotion. Okay, this kind of gets into for kind of planning all the way into once you're into retirement. One of the first ones is, of course, the planning. Think about it. What do I need? This is the pre years. Now, in all honesty, a lot of people don't think about retirement until they get into their mid 40s, mid 50s. That's a lot of people we see is mid 40s, mid 50s. They've had a life change, whether your kids are out of the house, you're an empty nester, you've had grandbabies, whatever it may be. There's usually a life event that kind of triggers, oh man, I got to really start thinking about, me and us and what we're doing in retirement. And not that it's too late. Obviously, the earlier you start, the better. But it's never too late to put a plan in place. So encourage everybody around that. But that's the first stage, is kind of the planning phase. And you may say, well, that's not really an emotion, but it kind of is. So that's just, that's the thinking stage of it. Stage two is the excitement. You kind of started thinking, putting some plans together. You started formulating some ideas, and you start really getting excited. I can't wait. You're building that anticipation up to the retirement. You're really digging into your plans. You're doing some dreaming. Part of the financial side of things and planning things is you think about the different stages. And I talk about 3 different stages in retirement. That feeds right into it. You're thinking about those go-go years, the fun years of retirement. That's kind of stage 2. That's kind of as you right up approaching retirement or just started retirement. You're really close. That's the kind of the excitement phase. And then you get into the stage 3, the honeymoon phase. Woo, I'm free. Just like you in your marriages, you get in the honeymoon phase and everything's glorious and you're having a great time, and then things start to wear down a little bit, which gets into the disenchantment phase, which is stage 4. Now, back into the honeymoon phase, you're really kind of grasping retirement. You're enjoying the time. But a word of warning there: if you don't plan out right what you want to do, find out what your purpose is, what you want to do with your days and whatnot, in retirement, that the honeymoon phase can not last very long, but you can extend that out if you plan it out and do what you want to do. And I'm not saying that every minute, every day, everything has to be planned out, but you put a strategy in place, you put a framework in place to accomplish your planning. I'm not saying in retirement you plan every minute. That's not what retirement's about. Some people are planners and some people are not, but at least you have a framework in and you kind of put some thought behind that process, and you can kind of really extend the honeymoon phase. But oftentimes, though, it gets into the disenchantment phase. And one thing with a proper thought process up front is to maybe even skip that disenchantment phase. But a lot of people go through that. They get excited about retirement. Maybe they didn't think everything through. It's exciting for the first year or so, and then it kind of starts dwindling away. And they kind of need to reorientate themselves, which leads me into stage 5, which is that reorientation, building a new identity. You've gotten through the honeymoon phase, you kind of get disenchanted. Now you're saying, well, how am I going to, I got to get into a groove here. I got to get into my daily groove. What does that look like? Reorientate yourself, reinvent yourself. What does my life look like now? Right. And that can be different for everybody. This is such a personal process. Not just the non-financial side, but the financial side as well. But you're rebuilding the new you version 2. And then after you figure that out and you kind of get reoriented, you get your life kind of settled out, you get into that stage 6, which is the stability, just moving on, I'm settling in and I'm embracing, retirement. Now, those are some common, emotions that we talked about up front and some common stages that people go through. But you really can account for all those things up front. And really, like I said, some of those more negative ones, the disenchantment, those kind of things that can be minimized by doing it proper. But I'm a firm believer is in planning on and thinking about rather what you want out of retirement. What's your purpose going to be in retirement? Am I going to work part-time? Am I going to serve in my church? Am I going to, give to charities, volunteer my time? Am I going to spend time with grandbabies? What were your, think about what some of your passions were. What all through your career and your life, I've never had time to do that. What are some of those things? Sit down and think for a minute. What makes you happy? What gives you joy? What have you always wanted to do? Think about those things. Write them down. Some of them may be attainable, some of them may not, but you got to, put your bucket list together per se of things that you've always wanted to do, or how you wanted to spend your time and you never had the time to do it. This is a great time to do it. It kind of builds up that excitement phase, but you know what? You got to put that out there and think about what that is. And then once you narrow that down, and you talk through, as one thing I do with my clients is we talk through that. Figure out what that looks like for both spouses. If you're married, you got to do that for both, because there may be some things for each individual and then there's some things together. And that really helps drive, some of the financial side of planning as well, because you got to think about your activities, what your dreams and wants are. And then we get, you can plan around that. We talk a lot about the different phases of retirement. We'll talk about that another day, what that means in the grand scheme of things. But like I said, firm believer in thinking about the planning. So stop and think about that for a minute. What have you always wanted to do? That can be fun. I know a lot of people think about winning the lottery. What would I do with the, $20 million, or now their lottery's been up to, the billions. But take the money factor out of it. Okay. Just take the money factor out of it. What do you want to do? What have you always wanted to do that you haven't had time or haven't had the money? Just don't make money a barrier. Just put things down, because it may just put it out there, just like you're making a pros and cons list. Put all the pros down, put all the things that you've wanted to do, things that make you happy, bring you joy. And then we can kind of narrow it down and we'll work that into the plan and how you transition into that. It's a huge aspect. I talk a lot about, of course, the other group, Retire Happy. There's a Retire Happy framework, if you will, that we work through, and all this non-financial things are the first stage. Of course, money doesn't buy happiness, but with that, you want to make sure, obviously, you can fund your retirement appropriately. Now, the first thing about the Retire Happy framework, though, is if you can fund your living expenses, that lets you have some ease and less stress and sleep at night, because you're not worrying about expenses. So that's the kind of the first phase, little teaser there. That's the first phase of retirement. The Retire Happy factor, right? Is funding that first bucket of expenses. Then you move on to the other things where you're going down your list of things that you thought about that you wanted to do. There's too many people that are in the United States, this wealthy country we live in, but there's too many people that live close to the poverty level when they're in retirement. That's why we do what we do. We have a passion for helping people out of that. We've all worked really hard for a whole life, so I want everybody to be able to enjoy their retirement. Whether you're an hourly employee barely making it, or whether you're really wealthy, there's a plan for everybody. There's a way to plan for everybody. It's obviously going to look different, and it's very personal. And everybody goes through those different emotions and stages differently. So you got to factor all that in. And there's just so many aspects of it that people don't think about. And that's one reason we love doing what we do. So think about that. That kind of a homework. If you make some comments out in the comment section, what are some things that you guys want to do? What's on your bucket list? What would bring you joy? And if you had all the time in the world every day to do whatever you wanted to do, uh, share, put it out in the comments. See what love to see what people are thinking. Um, and if you ever need any help with that, obviously you can hit us up to talk through it. If this kind of stuff, this is just like I said, one aspect of retirement planning. But it's a very important aspect of it. If this has been valuable to you guys, if you think that's something that you need some help with, if you've never thought about this side of it, hey, put in the comments there. Just put in the word happy, and someone from our team will reach out to you and connect with you and talk about how we can help in that arena and what that looks like. We'd love to talk to you about it. Also, if you don't want to schedule anything by putting your name out on the comments, so I get that. Not everybody wants to do that. You can also use this Calendly link, put it in there. You can schedule a time with me personally, and be happy to just kind of talk through it with you. And if you ever need anything outside of that, or if you don't want to go through those methods, hit me up on Facebook Messenger. Happy to talk to you guys. I'm really excited about the relaunch of this group. We're going to be talking about so many different things of what all the different aspects are that it takes to retire happy, to get into retirement. And then we're going to also mix in some of the biblical principles of what that looks like. And it's amazing that the financial side of things, the financial 101, and even investing and how you go about it, you look at what Jesus taught in throughout the Bible about stewardship and money. It's amazing how it fits into the foundational core aspects. And we're going to marry that all together. And I can't wait to go through that with you guys. Hopefully it kicks off some light bulbs. We'll go through all these different aspects. I think next week maybe we'll dive in a little bit on the treasure target. We'll talk about that a little bit, and you can go back into the guide sections up top and take a look at that and some of the other documents. There's a faith and finance document out there that kind of helps tie things together. But like I said, hopefully you find this beneficial. I know a lot of people haven't thought about these different phases and emotions and those kind of things. If that's you and you want some help to go through that, like I said, put the word happy in the comments. We'll reach out to you. We'll have a conversation, and we would love to do that with you. So that's all it for tonight. I wanted to introduce that aspect to you. We'll touch on these different things as we go about and how they factor into the retirement side of things and planning. Hope everybody has a fantastic and great evening. Until next week, we'll see you then. Take care.